You're still muted, Sonja.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sonja Pedell. I'm located in Melbourne, Australia. So is and Borda, my colleague from the University of Melbourne. And before I start the talk, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and their elders past and present, who are the traditional owners of the land on which Swinburne's Australian campuses are located. I would like to start the talk with this picture, and you might wonder why do I show a forest if I meant to talk about the smart city. And here in Melbourne we have quite a few parks and beautiful parkland, especially around the Yarra River, and you would kind of not even expect you are really in the middle of a large 4 million person city. And if we look at their citizens, and in this case, Fiona, a 78-year-old lady, and I would like to start with this scenario where Fiona loves to walk along the Mary Creek Trail, where she could hear the birds chirping and creek trickling water. After her fall, so Fiona can only walk small distances at a time before needing rest. As Mary Creek does not have enough regular seating, Fiona walks along the main street instead, where rest spots are regular. She misses the calm sounds of the creek. So this is then more like the environment of the city with car noise and everything. And while we might think this is more social, it's really not what Fiona would like to do, what her preferences is, and how she wants to really do recreational activities around the city. And purposely also, I've chosen walking in the scenario because if you look at this graph, older adults, in particular in the age group from 55 to 64, really love walking. Nearly 40% walk for exercise, while no other form of exercise attracts more than 14% of that specific age group. And so in that regard, creating an environment that is supportive of walking for seniors should include digital information on important personal parameters, like, for example, health. So if we talk about smart cities, I would like to put forward that we need to be inclusive for all the adults to consider their individual preferences and emotions to encourage the activities they would like to do, and also increase their agency of the citizens and in the different levels of their health and mobility. So in terms of some research we analyzed semi-structured in-depth interviews with older Australians who were using wearables. And we know wearables are very much used for tracking activity, in particular walking, and looking particularly also on feelings, attitudes, and preferences when such devices are used. So here we talk about conclusions that can be drawn towards inclusive smart cities for all the Australians to participate in activities they are interested in and create social opportunities. The way we analyzed the interviews was that we were using 3 thematic frames, and that was an emotional frame, a quality frame, and functional goals of all the adults in the city. And in terms of their emotions, for them to feel supported by technologies in their life, it was really about motivation. They needed to know that the technologies they were wearing can motivate them, and that happens through the step count, for example, that was shown at the end of the day. And they also was important to feel up to date with things, to feel current, that they had the technologies that other peoples were using as well. And but also to feel confident. And that's a very important aspect. And in terms of confidence, often there is a feeling left that with today's technologies, there is not full use of the technology itself, but only a fraction of the functions is used. In terms of how they wanted to interact with technologies, was that that they wanted also be able, at least some of the older adults, to share the data, for example, with a doctor, and have that information available for them. Also, it should be encouraging, and that I think goes very much in alignment with feeling motivated, so that they kind of get a bit competitive with themselves and increase their own activity levels over time, encouraged through the technology. In terms of functions through these wearables, it was to manage weight, but also often to manage pain, because people with arthritis are very much encouraged to keep moving and to do a lot of walking if they can. But also they wanted to integrate different sources of information that they had available through technology. So if we look at one source of information for all the adults through technology, it is really, really important to understand their preferences, goals, and emotions when looking at data. So if we now connect it to the environment really needs to foster and encourage agency of all the adults on connecting them to the relevant information about their environment, that really works. So if we look again at the data from the interviews and the actual context of the people and their environment, then a lot was about regular things happening. For example, incidental things like, if I have to go to the city, then I don't take the car or public transport. I rather take, I walk. But then it is really important to know where to walk and get that relevant information and the best route. But they're of course not only intrinsic motivators, they are very much external motivators, such as the distance where our work is. And this one participant stated that she gets off the bus on her way to work a few stops early, so that she has that extra amount of walking time. But then again, it might not be the most beautiful or best way to exercise. And the last example where people really, in this case, one person got a dog and has that external motivation to increase the level of exercise. So if we now talk about smart cities, so they need, for older adults, they need to break the silos of these wearable data, and that's a information source older adults have available very easy, and general geographic data to connect the two data sources. But unfortunately, currently, a lot of this information is siloed very much. So on the one hand, there is this information on the personal data, and on the other hand, the information on the city data, and it's not very well brought together at the moment, and people can't make good use of it. So here we strongly suggest that through combining wearable data, preferences and emotions and environmental parameters, we can positively influence older adults' agency and livability in the city, increase their agency and self-care in regards to health and well-being. And that's what I would call would create for them a smart city. So we really have to add that additional environmental data layer to the other existing layers and combine them all. And how does it look like going back to our original scenario with Fiona? So Fiona set a goal to walk 7,000 steps each day. She's motivated to maintain her fitness and stay healthy. No longer able to walk along Mary Creek, her Fitbit charts a route using data from the council where rest spots, fountains, and shade are regular along another creek near her home. Fiona can continue to hear the sounds of birds and the trickling creek. The other day, she met another lady who was resting on a bench near the creek. And thank you for your attention. I hope there might be some questions I'm happy to answer.